This is such a small representation of who we are as a people, so that's very beautiful. And I just want to thank Brother Ahmed. I don't know if he is here because all this is possible because of him, so I don't know if he's here, but let's just all say thank you to Ahmed just for having this event. I don't know if he's here. But anyway, as far as healing, when we speak of holistic healing, we're not just talking about healing our physical. We're speaking about healing the whole person. We're not just physical people. And every time that there's a physical ailment or a physical disease, it didn't start in the physical. It either started in the spiritual, in the mental, or in the emotional, and then it manifested into the physical. So there's no physical problems. There's physical manifestations of an imbalance somewhere in the spiritual, mental, or emotional. Is anybody feeling me? Okay, thank you. So anyway, 9 out of 10 times that there is a problem, unless like we got hit by a car and our arm hurts, it didn't start there. It started somewhere else. So today we're just going to talk about the 4 bodies, but we have more than 4 bodies. But today we're just going to talk about the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, and the physical. Now, whenever there's like an issue in the spiritual and it goes unaddressed, it could descend. So we can have like a problem, for instance, in the spiritual, like we might not be trusting the Most High. Well, that could cause disease, right? And if we don't address it at that level, it could descend into the mental level, right? Looking like unwanted thoughts and mental arguments and just keeping us up at night. That too can cause disease if it's not addressed. So then if we don't address that, it could go into the emotional body, right? Looking like depression, anxiety, and then when it's unaddressed there, then it could descend into the physical body, looking like joint pains, allergies, going on like this, right? So then what do we do now that it's in the physical body? What do we do? What do a lot of us do? We go run to the hospital, right? Go to the good doctor that has the white robe on and the stethoscope, who goes home at 5, right? Doesn't care about us, right? And we go listen to him. Like, what is he going to say? What is he going to tell us? And more than likely, he's going to sit up and he's going to label something. He's going to say, you have this. And all that word is a symptom. It's not the problem. Anything from A to Z, like arthritis, B, bursitis, C, cholesterol, D, diabetes, that's just a frequency, right? So that at that point, we have the opportunity to do one of 2 things. We could either reject that information, because of course he's going to say something like, does your family have it? Did it run in the family? Certain things just don't run in the family. You don't have gout because your mama had gout. You have gout because you're eating the red meat that she was eating that's high in uric acid that's messing you all up, right? Right? Doctor? All right. So then what we do, we can either reject that information, because what he's going to do is he's going to say, you caught this. But we don't catch disease. We create disease by the way we think, eat, drink, and live. Right? We break down our own natural defenses. And what they want us to believe is that if we just caught it, then we will not empower ourselves enough to create it, because we're going to feel helpless. So what we need to do is we need to be accountable for our health, because we don't catch disease, we create it, first and foremost. So when he tells us, Mr. Jones, you have this, either we could choose to reject that information and not accept that frequency, because all that is the frequency. Or because of the fear that brought us there in the first place, we could sit there, and when we accept that information, it goes into our central nervous system, and then our body starts to break down. And then we leave the doctors not even feeling worse than when we first walked in. Now, I just want to rewind just a moment ago, just for a while, because we weren't always at this state. At one point, we used to look at medicine, we used to look at food as our medicine. And I don't want to offend anybody by just quoting scripture really quick, but in Genesis 1:23, the Most High states, and I quote, I give you all the herb-bearing seeds. So way back in the day, our people knew that food was our medicine. Okay, now I'm going to say something that might sound a little weird, but our people used to stand here at this very day, at this very place, long before the 9,000-mile boat ride here. Okay, we were already here. Okay? We weren't taught that. We were already here. If there was just one land, and we all know that we are the original people, then we were already here, right? Okay, so with that information, we already knew how to heal ourselves through herbs and plants and flowers and seeds and stuff like that. But see, somewhere along the line, the land shifted, Pangea. Now we got all these other continents, right? But what's so beautiful, what the Most High did is the herbs and the berries and the vegetables and the fruits on the west coast of Africa, right, were identical to where we were dropped off in Jamestown, Virginia, right? So as soon as we got here, we were like, oh, collard greens. See, back then, we treated it as medicine. We said, oh, wow, blood purifier, high in antioxidants, regulates everything, high in minerals. And see, we don't need to be chemists nowadays, you guys, to know that once we boil these greens, they lose nutritional value once we put hog mogs in it, right? Right? We didn't always do that, right? Or like when we got here, we saw wild yams. Like, wow, we already knew what to do with the yams. We knew that was medicine. What we did was we knew that it was high in potassium, regulated our blood sugar, our hormones, lowered cholesterol. Back then we didn't mush them up and, you know, put marshmallows on it and eat them during these holidays that we could think are ours, right? So we didn't always do that. We knew that medicine came from the earth, but somewhere along the way we got all messed up. So when we look at restaurants and stuff, see, certain restaurants are strategically placed in certain communities, am I right? Right? So now, when we used to eat fruits and vegetables for dinner, now our kids, what they think, they don't even know that French fries actually don't come out of a bag. That's the sad thing. They really think that this stuff, they don't know that we actually used to grow our own food. See, our bodies know what it lacks and what it needs. An example of this is, have you ever like really craved something, like your body is craving something, and more often than not, it's craving something that it lacks. Now, sometimes we crave certain foods out of emotions, and that we'll talk about that in a minute. But sometimes when we crave certain foods, our body knows what it needs, right? We might sit and look in the refrigerator, and the refrigerator is just packed, and we're like, wow, got a thing to eat. So then we look in our cupboards and it's stacked. We're looking, we're like, wow, man, there's nothing to eat here, right? So then we go to the supermarket and boom, we see that salmon. And some of us might even be vegetarian or vegan, but something about that salmon. So we go home and we hook it up and then we eat it and it's like bing, because our body has its own consciousness outside of our own consciousness. And our body knew that the fish was high in that iodine that our thyroid needed to regulate our hormones, our weight gain and loss, our libido, hair gain and loss. Our body has its own knowledge outside of ourselves. That's what's so beautiful. We have so many different bodies. Just like, I'm gonna digress a little bit, but just like colors, like sometimes you might look in the closet and you're like, I haven't a thing to wear, because your body actually needs a certain color that day, right? There's a certain frequency with every colors. Everything in this universe is just a frequency. And sometimes, for instance, your body might need yellow because that might correspond with the third chakra. That's digestion, that's the kidneys, that's willpower. Our bodies know what it needs, right? And see, we've come so far away from that. We're not cooking our own food. Most of our food comes out of a can, a bag, or a box because we say we don't have time to prepare our foods. We definitely have time to go to the lunch truck at 12 o'clock. We got time to do everything else. We got time to watch Oprah when we could be cutting up our vegetables for the next day, but we do not put ourselves first. And what's so sad is we don't even realize that you could tell a lot about how you feel about who you are by the foods you put inside your body, right? If you love yourself, you wouldn't put certain foods inside your body. And so with this knowledge that our bodies have its own consciousness, we also need to know that certain emotions